Alright guys, welcome back to the man cave. So we've got this chainsaw in here that is locked up. It pulls, but it's really difficult. So we're going to go ahead and pull this thing apart. Now I'm going to start by removing the bar and chain. And we do that by removing these nuts right here. We'll set those off to the side. We'll pull this cover off and set it off to the side. We'll pull this bar and chain off of here and we'll set it off to the side. Alright. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this rear cover. This covers the air cleaner. I'm going to remove the air cleaner. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pull this spark plug out of this. First thing that we'll do is remove the spark plug wire, and then we will remove the spark plug. We are going to remove this top cover, and we do that using a Torx bit. We'll remove this side of the brake. Now this saw looks like it's missing a couple of bolts, so I'll have to get some bolts for it. In fact, it's missing quite a bit. Somebody's had this apart before. We'll pull this other bolt off of this side. Now this is a two-stroke engine, and the cylinder is going to be a one-piece. It's not going to have a cylinder head. The cylinder and the head are going to be a one-piece unit. We'll pull this stuff out of here. And pull this cover up out of here. Now, we are going to need to pull this carburetor back. We're going to pull the exhaust off of it first, I think. So this is a muffler, spark arrestor, and the job of this thing is to quiet the sound of this engine down, and also to keep it from starting the forest on fire when we're cutting wood. Well, some junk down in there. I'm going to grab a screwdriver. Okay, so we're going to dig this stuff out of these bolts. These bottom bolts are full of stuff, so we're going to just dig them out a little bit so we can get our wrench in here. This one's kind of a tough one to get to. Might have to get creative in how we loosen it. So I suspect that this has got a cylinder that the piston has seized up in. But we're going to go ahead and pull this apart so we can verify that before we order parts. And take the piston and the cylinder off of it. Make sure that everything works well. Funny how the bolts that are hardest to get to are also the hardest to turn. These bolts are really easy to get to, they turn really easily. We'll pull that off of there. We're going to look down in here. Got some scarring right around the ring. Got some definite scarring in that cylinder. Okay, so I'm going to pull the rest of this exhaust off so that we can get up in here and see a little bit better. Alright, so we've got a gasket that goes on the exhaust. Now, I've moved this piston back a little ways. And you can see some fairly significant scarring in there. Alright, so now we are going to take this carburetor loose. Use an 8mm. And pull these two nuts right here loose. And set those off to the side. And then we're going to come in here, and there is a clamp right down in here that we're going to pull loose so we can pull this carburetor back. Maybe get a hold of this carburetor and pull it back just a little bit. Move that boot. This carburetor should actually come back a little ways. There we've got the boot off of it. Figure out what's holding this so it won't slide back. It should just collapse right there without any trouble, and it's just not wanting to do it. I don't want to rip that boot. There, we've got that out of the way. So now what we're going to do is the cylinder bolts for this are actually down in here. I'm going to reach in here and try and clean these out as much as I can because they're full of junk. And this one you can see down in there pretty well where it's at. Right down in there. And what we have to do is we have to run our Torx bit down through this hole, and it'll go down in there to that bolt. We're going to run that down and see if we can get this cylinder to come loose. And again, we may have to get a little bit creative in how we loosen this up, because that's just the way it goes sometimes. And we'll pull all four of these loose, and then we'll pull the cylinder off of it. Okay, now we've got this cylinder loose. We're going to pull it up out of there. Take these bolts and set them off to the side. And we're going to take a look up in this cylinder. And it looks like this thing's starved for oil a little bit to me. Now we'll take the, okay, so that is not the only problem. We have a bad bearing in this bottom end of this, which means that this engine is probably shot, but I'm going to go ahead and take it apart. We're going to take a look at it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pull the recoil starter off of this. Now, if you're doing this at home, I would recommend that you get a box to put your bolts in and mark what bolts you pulled out of where, so that you're not guessing at bolts when you start putting things back together. You, however, can make that decision, but I would suggest that unless you've done this several times, I would suggest that you do that. So now, we're going to go ahead and pull this piston off, and to do that, we're going to remove this little snap ring that's inside of here. We're going to go in right here, just get behind that snap ring, and just work it out of there. Maybe. Might have to go get a different tool. So I've got this curved pick, and I'm going to reach in here and I'm going to get behind this little snap ring. And what I want to do is try to not drop this down in the engine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the edge of this and bring it over here close to my okay, I'm almost there. Bring it over here close to this end so that I can pull this out. Now I'm going to get back in here again, and I'm going to get back behind this little snap ring, and I'm just going to work my way around and pull that little ring out of there. So there's the little snap ring that goes in it. We're going to set that right here, and then we're going to go over to this other side, and we're going to push the wrist pin out of this. In looking at this, I see that we've actually got a, looks like maybe a broken piston ring right here. It seems to be collapsed. Yeah, it's definitely broken. Okay, so we're going to check this in the cylinder. And so far that seems to move okay. I'm going to pull this other piston ring off. And we are going to run this piston down in this cylinder. And you can see that it's okay. It moves just fine in there. There's some scarring in there, but it's not a horrible amount. It probably needs to be replaced anyways. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these rings and I'm going to put them back on this piston so that we don't lose track of where they came from, in case he wants to go ahead and put this piston back in it, which I wouldn't recommend. But all right, now I'm going to go ahead and put this little snap ring in here so that it doesn't get lost as well. We're just going to start it in the groove, work our way around, and push that right down in place. And this is much easier out here than it is when it's in the engine. And there we've got it down in the groove. So now we're going to need to disassemble some more of this engine and see if we can figure out exactly where this problem happened. Looks like it seems like we must have a bad side bearing in this, because it turns okay. It's only got one spot where it tries to hang up on me. Right there. is where it tries to lock up. So we've got a bad bearing. So we're going to wind up pulling this flywheel off of it. We're probably going to have to completely disassemble this saw. So I'm going to set everything off to the side for a little while, and we're going to come back and disassemble the rest of this saw.